Hey, good evening, Commander.
Hey, whoa, Joe. I
How's it
wasn't
going?
expecting you. How are you doing?
Not bad. I was driving by and I saw your car. I thought I'd come by and see
Oh,
what's
great. That's exactly what I did. I was actually driving by and I was reminiscing a little when I was in Afghanistan, and you know, with the current events going on, it gets a little nostalgic. So I decided to come by and check out some of the stuff we have displayed here at our museum that I sent home to the kids.
Yeah, I was watching the news just earlier this morning, and they're talking about the ladies, young girls and the older women, and all the difficulties they're going to have now with the Taliban taking over. And I thought about this. I thought about your dolls, and I thought, you know, here you started this business, this company with them back in what, 2007 or 8? Were you there?
Yeah, it was 2004. I know you were at the presentation I did on Kabul dolls, and yeah, you know, it breaks my heart because we actually had a group of ladies that were led by a lady named Wahida, and so one of my interpreters, one of the guys that can't get out of Afghanistan right now, actually came to me and said, you know, we have some widows who are looking to try and make some money. And at the time I said, well, you know what, we have plenty of soldiers who have their wives and husbands and kids at home. Maybe they could make some items for us, because we couldn't buy any of this stuff in Afghanistan. So that's kind of like how we came up with the idea. And so eventually it ended up, they called it Kabul Dolls, and that's where all this came from.
Didn't you tell me that, like, years later after you left, that the men came in and kind of took away the businesses from them, or?
Yeah, you know, unfortunately, in a world that's dominated, it's male dominated, the religion doesn't allow too much for the ladies to actually be out of the home unless they're accompanied by a male, if they're out of a certain age. And unfortunately, as we started drawing down, some of those more archaic customs started to come back. It wasn't as bad as it is now.
That's what I was thinking about, how much it's got to be even worse for those ladies now. If those guys were considered free, living in Western style, and they took it away, could imagine what's going on today.
Oh, it's brutal, and you know, we don't hear the reports on our regular news, but I have friends that are still out there, and it's horrible. There's horrible things going on out there. But you know, we can always discuss that over during a different segment. But the company itself really operated really well until about 2008, and then basically the men took it over, and eventually everything started being made back in China. So none of the items look like this anymore. If you look it up on the internet, you'll actually see where it looks like they're made in China. All these items here are handmade. Every piece is handmade. If you look at the Kabul doll presentation that I do, you see in the slides the pictures of the ladies literally making the hands, making the feet, making the shoes, just literally making all the different pieces by hand. You know, so we have like, and the really neat thing about what you see here is you see all the tribes of Afghanistan. You know, Afghanistan is made up of a lot of different tribes which have been around since antiquity. You know, you have the Pashtun, you have the Uzbek, you have the Tajiks, you have the people from Herat, the people from the Panjshir Valley. So I mean, they're all different unique tribes that have always maintained their own form of dress. So I'll give you an example, like this gentleman here. Okay, he's dressed as a Pashtun fighter. Okay, he happens to be off this day, but he's out with his wife. But in the Panjshir Valley, the wives would still wear the burqas, and that's how they would dress. Now that particular gentleman there is modeled after the commander of the Northern Alliance, Ahmad Shah Massoud, who he was killed. He was assassinated on September 9th of 2001 as a preparation for what happened to the United States on September 11th of 2001. So now Zaire, Ahmad, his son is now running the Northern Alliance, trying to fight the Taliban right now. So his son is doing exactly what he was doing 20 years ago. Another example is Karzai. I mean, anybody that has seen a picture of Karzai here would know how remarkably close that looks to Karzai. and he's wearing the traditional overcoat of an official, and there he's portrayed as the first president of Afghanistan. But what I really want to show you guys that, you know, I keep this kind of hidden away because it's a little too voodoo-ish for me. And I don't want too many people to know where it's at. So after this, I'm going to move it. But what I really think is kind of neat is I actually have my own action figure.
Wow.
So before I got ready to leave, the ladies presented me with this. And it's a Captain Fiorentino doll.
You even got your name on there.
I got my name on there. It's got my military police brassard. Wow. You know, and I looked at it and I thought, well, that's kind of cool. My very own action figure, and I usually keep it locked up because, like I said, I don't want my wife to catch it and start putting pins into like a little voodoo guy here. But I thought it was kind of neat. But this just goes to show you how appreciative they were of what we were doing for them. We gave them the opportunity to make some money, to be able to support their families and their children. But at the same time, they were so appreciative that you know, anything we wanted. I had asked for, you know, we had these things called jingle trucks in Afghanistan, and basically those were they were regular trucks, but they would decorate them up so they were colorful. And the reason we called them jingle trucks is because when they would drive, those chains at the bottom would jingle. So of course, you know, the soldiers and the Marines and sailors, being who we are, we got to nickname everything. So those became jingle trucks. And it was awesome because I had a son and a daughter, so I also had some items that I could send to my son too. So really neat stuff.
I found this one here, this drawing, this pencil drawing. Is it a pencil or a charcoal drawing?
That is actually charcoal. And what is really touching about it, and that's actually one of the reasons that I did stop in to see some of the items in here. This was presented to me by one of my interpreters, and basically what it represents is, this lady represents the old Afghanistan, and she's looking into the new Afghanistan. You know, you got to remember, for 20 years we gave Afghanistan freedom, real freedom that they had never known. Girls were actually going to schools, universities, becoming professionals, politicians, police chiefs. It was just recently in the news where the Taliban beat, tortured, and killed a pregnant, 8-month-old pregnant police officer for the crime of being a female. Okay? And that was just in the news just a couple days ago.
I remember hearing.
And that's what
in front of their family. They did it
in front of the husband, her parents, and her other kids. Beat her and killed her, being 8 months pregnant. That's the unfortunate thing that, you know, sticks with every one of us that actually worked closely with Afghans and with other coalition partners. Is, you know, we knew these individuals. They loved having us there. They welcomed us as fellow teammates, and in the goal of independence, you know, and the goal of freedom. Something that sometimes we take a little too for granted in our country. So yeah, that's one of the ones that I think about all the time, is when my interpreter gave me that. And I still keep in touch with several of my interpreters. So, but hey, you know, I do have to get going. Wojo, hey, great you showed up.
Hey,
hope to see you again.
I'm glad I came by. I learned something new again tonight. I'm so happy to see you.
Every little bit, I think it's so important. And you know what? Maybe we'll catch up in a couple of days and we'll talk about a few other things about Afghanistan.
I know it's got a tug on the heart a little bit to see what's going on there, and I can see why you want to come in and reminisce about this, especially some good times.
Well, and I think, you know, exactly what you're saying. I think to so many of our veterans that have their items here, and to so many of our families that have their items here, this is a little place of safe haven where they could come in here and look at stuff that reminds them of their families, or reminds them of the time when they were away. And it's all good feelings. It's all good stuff. But anyway,
thank you, Commander.
Have a great evening.
You too, Commander. Thank you so much. Thank you, Commander.